What is going on, Firing the Man Nation? Today we are going to go over the Firing the Man product cost in FBA Profitability Calculator. Now, if you like what you see here and you want to go and get a free download of this exact spreadsheet, go on over to firingtheman.com/calculator. Today I'm going to walk you through this spreadsheet and how you can use it to understand your costs and your profitability as you start sourcing products. So first things first, here's a little overview of the spreadsheet. As you will see as I go through these tabs, things are color coded, and here is the color key. Anything that's manually input is going to be in blue. Anything linked to another tab is going to be in green, and anything that's automatically calculated is going to be in black. So as you fill this out, focus on the blue text. And here's just a quick explanation of each tab, but we're going to take a deep dive into these. So let's go ahead and get started. The first tab is the per unit cost breakdown. Now, as you've probably heard us on a lot of podcasts, knowing your costs is really important. And this is a tool that can be used when you're communicating with your supplier. Now, one thing before we dive into these numbers, one thing I'd like to go over is how this is set up. It is set up using the worst case, base case, and best case scenario. Now, there are certain things that there's not going to be a worst, base, or best case. For instance, how many units you order. Now, if you know you're going to order 1,000, go ahead and put 1,000 across the board. However, on costs like quoted cost per unit, oftentimes as you order more quantity, you will be able to decrease your price. And so here's a good example of when you'd want to use different prices for the worst, base case, and best case scenario. Now, let's dive right in. Here are the number of units you could order from your supplier. As we've talked about on the podcast, this may be your minimum order quantity or more if you are expecting more sales. Let's dive into our unit costs. Now, when you talk to a supplier or you're on, say, Alibaba, the quoted price per unit is just the starting spot. So let's take our base case, for example. This particular product is $4 per unit. Now, you may say, okay, I can buy it for $4 and I can sell it for $15. I'm going to make $11 profit. That is not the case. What you need to do is factor in all of your costs, and this spreadsheet allows you to do that. So what we're going to do first is look at, all right, what are some other per unit costs? So for instance, packaging. Are you going to put this in a cardboard box? Are you going to put it in a poly bag? You're going to need to consider your packaging here. Product inserts. If you're putting a business card inside your product asking for a review, you're going to want to factor that in per unit. And barcodes. I think right now, if you have Amazon do the barcodes, it's 20 cents per unit. But again, say your supplier said, hey, we'll do barcodes, but we're going to charge you 50 cents per barcode. That may be a worst case. Best case is your supplier says, yeah, we'll throw that in for free. Don't worry about it. So here are all your per unit costs here. So again, a product that started off at $4.25 may end up at $6, and that's just getting started. Next, we need to look at some lump sum costs, or what we're calling other costs. Now, this could be an inspection. This could be shipping from a manufacturer to the U.S. Again, if we're talking about worst case, base case, and best case, your worst case is probably going to be your air shipping, where your best case is going to be sea shipping. This seems to be a fraction of the cost of what you pay for air shipping. Shipping to the Amazon warehouse. So if you're shipping from overseas, once it gets to the port, getting that to Amazon warehouse is going to be an additional fee. Tariffs is something that, especially recently with the tariffs that Trump has imposed on China, these are really impacting FBA sellers, and you need to consider these when considering your fully loaded costs. So on an order like this, what started off as all of our unit costs being at $6, we now need to factor in another $1.88. So what we do here, this takes the total of our other costs. And then we spread these across all of the units that we ordered. And so that's our per unit other costs. And this plus this gets us to our fully loaded cost per unit. And so this is a really important number. And again, when someone gives you a quote, you can see, and these are some fairly realistic numbers. What starts off as a $4 product now is over $6.50, and that really cuts into your margin. And we're going to see how that impacts your profitability. So another thing to know is, okay, how much is this order going to cost me? And so here again, this just lays out your worst case, base case, and best case scenario. And one last thing I want to comment on this particular tab is there are going to be times when you don't need this worst case, base case, and best case scenario. For instance, on barcodes, if you communicate up front with your supplier and say, I need to put a barcode on every product, what can we do here? They can they can tell you that answer, and say it's 20 cents, then you can just apply 20 cents across the board. And so, but I really do think, especially, I know I fall into this trap, I often am thinking of a best case scenario. In actuality, I think things line up probably for me between base case and worst case. There always seems to be an extra fee. Things always seem to be more expensive than they are. So when I'm looking at this, I really like to look at it through 3 different lenses just to make sure I'm covering my tail. And if a base case or a worst case still appears to be profitable, then this is probably something that I'm going to want to move forward with. So let's go into this next tab. This is the FBA Profitability Calculator. And again, here's your item sale price. I think this is good. When I'm doing product research, I like to go out and find the person that is selling the lowest cost item. So for instance, say I'm going to get into leprechaun loincloths. I'm going to go out and I'm going to find the lowest cost supplier of a leprechaun loincloth. Now, you may say, my product's going to be way higher quality. It's going to have more features than that. But I really think that, especially on item sale price, this is something where people can be overly optimistic, and Amazon's a competitive marketplace. So I think factoring in a sale price that is significantly below what you intend on selling is a really healthy exercise to go through. Here's your base case and then your best case. Shipping, this particular line would be if you are charging for shipping. So if you are charging for shipping and could pass some of that along to the customer, that's your best case scenario, right? Base case, and on FBA, they're typically doing the fulfillment, so you're not going to have any shipping charges here. Those will be captured below. And worst case scenario is you are giving free shipping to your customer, and so you're eating the entire shipping cost here. So, but again, with FBA, your base case is probably going to land right here. All right, moving on, here's your fulfillment costs. Now, if you are doing fulfillment by merchant, it would be good to take a similar size package to the office and mail it to a relative or to a friend and see how much that's going to cost you. For a small item, typically $3.50, $4 is pretty typical, but you're going to want to get an understanding of what this cost is if you're going to be doing fulfillment by merchant. Now, if you're going to do fulfillment by Amazon, you're going to get hit with 2 primary fees. One's referral fees and one's Amazon FBA fees. Now, on the referral fees, this is a percentage of your item sale price. And this is different for every category. I've got a link right here, but this will take you to this webpage right here. And this is going to show you the referral fee percentages by category. And if this is something that's good to look at. Say if you're on the brink of, I don't know if I want to sell in outdoors or tools and home improvement, it may be good to take a look at this first when you're deciding on your category. The Next fee is Amazon FBA fees, and these are going to be based on the size and weight of your product. If you follow that link, it's going to take you to this web page right here, and this gives you 10 ounces or less, 10 to 16 ounces. This gives you your weight requirements, and then here are some examples of the dimensions. So it's going to go by weight and by dimension. So just check this out, and this will give you a good idea of what this FBA fulfillment fee is going to be. And so that gets you to your total fulfillment cost. Now, this does not factor in the product cost. What we're doing here is we're linking back to this first tab. And so following this link, this is linking up to right here. And so as you change inputs on this tab, that's going to flow through to your profitability calculator right here. Here's your fully loaded per unit cost, and we're going to add that to your fulfillment costs. And that's going to get you to a total per unit cost right here. And this is the most important number. You know, we've been following this base case scenario in this example. We started with a product that costed $4. We are now at $11, and this is a realistic scenario. This is, I sell a product of this size, and these are the typical fees that I'm seeing. And so this is really important. I think a lot of people see, oh, I can buy this for $4 and I can turn around and sell it for 17. I'm going to get rich quick. But you can see how this is a slippery slope, and you really need to have a good understanding of your costs. So here's your total per unit cost, and this is the most important item from this spreadsheet. This is going to allow you to figure out how profitable you're going to be. And again, right here, this is going to get you to a net profit margin per unit. This is calculated by taking the item sales price minus your total per unit cost. And this is a really important number. And, you know, the way I run my business, I won't move forward on a product unless my base case is north of 35 to 40%. Because this isn't what you ultimately are putting in your pocket every time you make a sale. You have a lot of additional costs like PPC, any marketing costs, overhead if you're going to pay yourself, equipment, computer, hiring a VA. There's a lot of operating costs that are going to suck this dry. And so, you know, if you're starting with a net profit margin per unit, so this, if you're starting with a gross profit margin per unit of say 10 or 15%, you are going to need to do a ton of volume in order to cover your other operating expenses that aren't directly related to selling one additional unit. And then again, gross profit on units ordered. So this is an important number. You know, I always like to say, all right, how much, you know, what's my total cost of my order? How much is this going to cost me out of my pocket? Or how much am I going to need to draw from a credit line? And here's gross profit on all those units that I ordered. And so I really like to look at this. You know, say you make $60,000 per year and you want to fire the man. You know, you need to, this is a good way to figure out how much you need to sell in order to meet that. And again, this just is gross profits ordered, but since I started this example, I am going to finish it. All right, so to continue on with this example, I wasn't planning on doing this, but got off on a little tangent, and so we're going to dive into this. So say you had a salary of $60,000. Again, this spreadsheet is only getting you to gross profit margin. And so you're going to have to deduct for a lot of your fixed expenses and overhead. Now, this is going to be different in every business. And again, this is only an approximation. But in my business, my fixed expenses are approximately 20% of my total revenue. And so what I'm going to do here is I am going to multiply my gross profit on units ordered by negative 20%. And that's going to get me to approximately 5 grand on this. On a per unit basis, this is, uh, about $5. And so if you look at, all right, well, what's the difference between gross margin and net profit margin? I know this is kind of getting tied up in some accounting lingo. We went from here to here. How did we get there? We deducted 20% for fixed expenses. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. This is going to be different in every business. And actually, as you scale, this percentage of revenue is likely going to go down as you become more efficient and spread that cost over more units. But anyway, so you got net profit margin per unit of $5. All right, well, how many units do you need to sell to fire the man? Some people would say, and my previous line of thought was, all right, well, I've got 60,000 bucks, and this is how much I make per unit, so I need to sell 12,025 units. It's not the case. And the reason that's not the case is because you would suck your business dry of all profitability. So if you wanted to add another product or grow, you've got nothing left because you pulled every last dollar out of your business. In my opinion, in the way this function is set up, you need to replace your salary twice in order to fire the man. And that allows you to pay yourself a salary, but also reinvest back into your business. Now, the real key here is how much money do you need to live on and how fast do you want to grow your business? And those are two things that you need to think about, but this is just a little exercise. If you're listening to the Firing the Man podcast and you're thinking about firing the man, here's an exercise you would want to go through in order to make a plan. And so anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this little demo. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. And again, if you like this video and you want a copy of this spreadsheet, go on over to firingtheman.com/calculator and get yourself a free download. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.